Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story today is about a boss so beloved her staff would have followed her anywhere, and a group of jealous managers who couldn't stand it. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. The silent screw you that brought a company to its knees for a week. My boss was the kind of leader you don't forget, loved by her staff but envied by her colleagues. Our team always had the highest morale and top ratings, not because she cracked the whip, but because we genuinely respected her. You just didn't want to let her down. She was that type of boss. She was strong, didn't take crap from anyone, and always showed up for us. We'd bring her home-cooked meals, coffee, little treats, not because we had to, but because she treated us like people, not just employees. She did the same for us. If no one could cover a shift, she'd work it herself. No ego, just heart. Of course, that made some of the other managers bitter as hell. You'd hear them mutter little comments, "Why are her staff always doing this for her?" Or, "Why does she treat them like that?" We'd catch their side eyes when we brought her gifts or food. They couldn't stand how much we loved her because they knew they could never get the same from their teams. But she never stooped to their level. She was classy and professional to the end. She didn't gossip, didn't talk crap, even when we knew she had every reason to. She kept people's business private, unlike the others who couldn't shut up about coworkers, even the ones they called their friends. Then her mother got really sick. She held a meeting with us to say she'd be stepping away for a while to take care of her. What she didn't tell us, but we later found out, was that management refused to approve the time off she needed, so she said F it and stepped down. She chose her family. And honestly, we admired her even more for it. We threw her a going-away party, and not a single other manager showed up. Typical. But we laughed, cried, took pictures, made it special. It was a beautiful, bittersweet goodbye. Then came the following Monday. Her last day had been Friday. I clocked in for my shift, and everything was effing fire. People were running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Managers looked wrecked. I was confused as hell until I found out about her big, final FU. Turns out, before she left, she'd approved vacation time for all 17 of us who'd planned a Vegas trip. Didn't enter it into the system until her last couple of days, so nobody caught it until it was too late. All 17 gone, on vacation, no staff to run the floor. It was a hospitality job. No staff equals no service equals total disaster. And there I was, the only one who didn't go. School stuff, just slowly doing my job while the managers scrambled, sweat dripping down their faces, watching the two who hated her most try to figure out how she ran things and fail miserably was delicious. She never raised her voice, never made a scene, but that move? That was the most bad butt silent FU I've ever seen. One of the best, most satisfying acts of petty revenge I've ever witnessed. This was years ago, but just recently I found out one of those bitter managers ended up getting fired. Her own staff filed a grievance against her for being racist. The other one's still there, still bitter, still miserable. Your boss sounds like the kind of boss that I think we all wish we could have. My hat's off to her for choosing her family first. Like the saying goes, it's the quiet ones that you have to watch out for, or something like that. The kicker is the other managers could have had that level of respect, but only if they treated their folks the way your manager treated hers. If doing right by their staff was beneath their dignity, their staff will respond accordingly. And our second story. You live by the speakerphone, you are shamed by the speakerphone. I worked in a cubicle farm. There were 4 rows of 4 cubicles. There was one coworker who never used the handset on his phone. Every call he made or received was made using the speaker. He also tended to shout into it, even though it wasn't necessary to raise his voice to be picked up by the microphone. There had been a few complaints from some of us to him, but he ignored them. One Monday morning, he called a doctor's office to report that he was having urinary troubles. He made an appointment for the next morning at 9 o'clock. Then he called our boss to say he'd be coming in late tomorrow. All of this was broadcast via his speaker and loud voice. I talked my wife into calling his extension the next morning while he was at the doctor's office to leave a message using a script I wrote out for her. She did and left the message on his voicemail after blocking her caller ID. When he arrived at the office after the doctor's appointment, he started listening to his voicemail messages on speaker. The first was work-related, but the second was the one my wife left for him. It said something like this: "Mr. Smith, this is Jane from Dr. Smith's office. We need you to come back here today if possible. You were supposed to give us a urine sample, not a semen sample." He quickly punched the end call button, but it was too late. The whole cube farm erupted in laughter. He knew that it had to be one of us, but didn't recognize the voice. He never used the speakerphone again. Not only is using speakerphone rude to the people around you, it's even worse for the person on the other end of the phone. They're having a conversation, totally unaware that more than the person they're speaking with can hear what they say. And our next story. The day Karen paid $50,000 for her own mistakes. I worked for this tiny landscape architecture firm for about 6 weeks at the end of 2020. It was just me, a couple of other coworkers, and the boss. Let's call her Karen, running the show. At first, it wasn't terrible. The work was fine. I liked the projects. I figured it was just a stepping stone until I found something better. Then I got COVID. While I was home sick, coughing my lungs out, I got an email notification. It was from Karen. Short, cold, and to the point. "We're terminating your employment effective immediately. Please return any materials and keys." No call, no conversation, no, "Hey, are you okay?" Just a digital pink slip while I was trying to breathe. I didn't lash out. I replied politely, saying I wished she'd called so we could talk about what went wrong, and asked if she could give me any feedback. That's when Karen went full Karen. She sent back an essay. I swear it was almost a page long, listing every exaggerated flaw she could think of. Apparently, I was too slow, too distracted, too disorganized, and somehow also too independent. Half of it was stuff she never mentioned once while I was working there. She ended her tirade with, "If you want to take legal action against me, let me know." Oh, believe me, Karen, I was tempted, but I didn't bother. I moved on with my life. Fast forward to this week, 3 years later. My phone rings from a private number. Against my better judgment, I answer. "Hi," she says in this falsely sweet voice. "It's Karen. How have you been?" I'm caught off guard, but polite. Fine. Then she launches in. "Someone reported me for using unlicensed software. Was it you? Because I know we left on bad terms." Excuse me? I told her I had no idea what she was talking about, but she just kept going. She accused me of holding a grudge, accused my dad, who works in IT, of doing it for me, and kept circling back with, "I'm not accusing you, but did you do it?" Which, yeah, that's literally accusing me. I finally said, "Karen, you're unfairly accusing me of something I didn't do." And that's when she snapped. "Why do you always play the victim? Stop playing the victim." Always? Lady, I worked for you for 6 weeks. I don't have a recurring character arc in your life. At this point, I was annoyed more than anything, and then something clicked. The only software we used was Autodesk, the free student version, which is 100% illegal to use for a commercial business, and she had just confirmed in her panic that someone had reported her for using unlicensed software. That little light bulb went off over my head. I wasn't going to do anything at first, but Karen had called me out of nowhere, accused me and my family of a federal crime, yelled at me, and then hung up on me after telling me I was playing the victim. So you know what? Fine. I filed a formal report with Autodesk and another with the Business Software Alliance. Both groups take piracy extremely seriously, and BSA is notorious for surprising audits that can bankrupt a small business if they find violations. I even included a little note in the report. Owner admitted verbally to using unlicensed software when accusing me of reporting her. Petty? Absolutely. But she handed me the ammo and told me to pull the trigger. 2 days later, I get a text from one of my old coworkers. We'd kept in touch. Apparently, Karen had a meltdown in the office when she got a letter from Autodesk about a pending audit. She was stomping around, yelling about rats and traitors and threatening to fire anyone who didn't tell her who snitched. It was me. And here's the kicker. My coworker says she's already gotten quotes for replacing all the unlicensed software with legitimate versions, and they're in the tens of thousands of dollars. Plus, she's probably facing fines for every single project completed using pirated software. Karen thought she was calling me to intimidate me. Instead, she gave me the best revenge plot I never knew I needed. She ended up cutting a $50,000 check to Autodesk and the BSA. Hope she thinks of me every time she logs into her shiny new legally licensed software. Because I sure will. The fact that she tried to drag your dad into it too? No, absolutely not. She woke up that sleeping dragon all on her own. And filing the report wasn't even malicious at that point. It was just enforcing the law. She was breaking it, she admitted it, and she treated you like garbage while doing so. And our last story. No, Karen, your kids aren't invited to my pool. When my wife and I finally saved up enough to put in a pool, it felt like a dream come true. We'd worked for years to make it happen, but right now, the yard still looks like a construction zone. Half-finished decking, piles of dirt, and landscaping equipment scattered everywhere. Basically, not a place you want unsupervised kids running around in flip-flops. So last weekend, we were outside enjoying our first swim with our 2 kids. Just a peaceful Saturday afternoon. Sun out, burgers on the grill, music playing. Then I see this kid from down the street, maybe 10 or 11, pedaling past on his bike. He spots us, waves, and disappears around the corner. 5 minutes later, he's walking up our driveway holding a towel. "Hey," he says all chipper, "can I come swim?" Now, I actually like the kid. He's polite, says hi when he passes, but we barely know his parents. And again, construction site, so I tell him, "You can if your mom comes too. It's not really safe yet, and we want an adult here." He nods and says he'll go ask. 10 minutes later, he's back in swim trunks, grinning like it's his birthday. But no mom. I ask, "Where's your mom, bud?" She said she can't come, but it's fine, I can swim. My wife, who's basically the embodiment of kindness, sighs and says, "It's fine, he can go in for a bit." Meanwhile, she's texting his mom just to let her know. I wasn't thrilled, but I figured fine, we'll keep an eye on him for half an hour. He splashes around, plays with our kids, everything's fine. His mom never texts back. An hour later, we send him home. I turn to my wife and say, "We're setting ground rules now, because the second one kid gets in, we'll have a whole stampede of them next weekend." She thinks I'm overreacting. "Just tell him no next time," she says. "It's not a big deal." But I can already see it coming. Every time we're outside, that kid's going to pedal by with a towel like he's clocking in for swim practice. And once the other parents find out, I'll have the neighborhood version of Lord of the Flies in my backyard. And sure enough, I was right. When my wife finally got a text back from the kid's mom, let's call her Karen, because of course, it said, "Oh, that's fine, he's a great swimmer. You don't have to watch him too closely." Excuse me? Don't have to watch him too closely? Ma'am, this isn't a public pool. If your kid drowns, it's not just a tragedy. I'm getting sued. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. Wishful thinking. The next day, I'm sitting outside on the patio, drink in hand, when I hear voices. I look up. It's the same kid, this time with a friend, both in swimsuits, towels slung over their shoulders, heading right for my gate like it's the YMCA. I stand up and meet them halfway. "Hey guys, sorry, we're not swimming today." They look disappointed but leave. No issue. 10 minutes later, my wife's phone pings. It's Karen. "I told them they could swim. Why did you send them home?" I could practically hear her tone through the text, that sharp, self-righteous pitch of someone who thinks boundaries are optional. I texted back politely because I was one angry emoji away from losing it. "We're not comfortable having anyone swim without their parents here. This yard isn't finished and it's a safety issue. We'll let you know when it's safe." Read, no reply. But that evening, we're out back cleaning up when we hear her voice drifting over from her driveway. She's talking loudly to another neighbor, clearly making sure we can hear. "Some people are just so uptight. It's just a pool. You'd think they were guarding Fort Knox." "Yeah, Karen, it's just a pool. The one I paid for, maintain, insure, and will legally answer for if your kid breaks his neck diving into shallow water." That night, I sat down and wrote out what I was going to say the next time this came up. Something like, "Hey, I know the kids are excited, but we can't have anyone here without a parent. Liability, construction, all that. We're happy to have everyone over once it's finished, but until then, no exceptions." Simple, right? You'd think any normal adult would get that. But no. The following weekend, my kids are in the pool again, and I hear that familiar sound, bicycle tires on gravel. I glance up, and sure enough, there's Karen herself strutting up my driveway with a beach bag over one shoulder and her 2 kids behind her. I walk over, towel still around my neck. "Hey, Karen," I start. "We talked about this. The pool's not open to anyone but family right now." She smiles like she's doing me a favor. "Come on, we'll just hang out for a bit. The boys have been dying to swim." I keep my voice calm. It's not about swimming, it's about liability. The backyard's a mess. If someone slips, that's on me. Karen's smile vanishes. You're seriously not going to let the kids swim? It's just a pool. I shrug. Then you can build your own. She huffs, grabs her kids by the shoulders, and storms off. I can hear her muttering something about unfriendly neighbors. Later that night, another neighbor messaged me. Apparently, Karen had been complaining to everyone that we were selfish for not sharing. One guy replied, "You mean their unfinished pool in their own yard? Yeah, how dare they?" The next morning, I put up a sign on the gate, "Private property, no trespassing." Since then, it's been blissfully quiet. The deck's getting finished next week, and we've got a professional fence going up around the whole yard. We even called our insurance company to add extra coverage, just in case Karen decides to accidentally wander in again. Let her gossip all she wants. I'm done being the nice neighbor. Karen treating your pool like a public park is wild. I love that you ended it with a simple, build your own. Nothing shuts down the entitlement faster than a calm dose of reality. This started like a sweet summer memory and turned into a cautionary tale about neighborhood Karens. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.